Hey gang, I am Joe Edelman and welcome to the Last Frame Live. Tonight is the second in a series of Last Frame episodes dedicated to the business of photography. We will dig into websites, Web 3.0, and why you need to be paying attention to both. So look, there's a lot to talk about tonight, so I'm going to skip photo news, and of course, we'll do some Q&A before we wrap up, so go ahead, start typing. I'll do my best to answer all your questions, even if they're not marketing related. Remember, photography questions are always game, right? But first, you know the drill. If you're watching live, please leave me a little note in the chat. Let me know who you are and where you're watching from. Already, I got Joe here from Michigan. Cooley is here from Hobart. Charlie in North Carolina. David in San Diego. I got Lynn in upstate New York. And of course, if you're watching the replay, no worries. Drop a comment below the video so that I know you are here. You're all part of a growing global community of photographers in over 100 countries who tune in to watch The Last Frame every week. And for that, I'm going to work really hard to help you with your photography in the next 60 minutes. And you know the drill. It would help a lot more people find out about The Last Frame. If you could do me a solid, hit that thumbs up below the video. The more thumbs up, the more YouTube will recommend the show to other photographers. And of course, while you're down there, feel free to hit that share button. Let your photography friends know that we are streaming live on YouTube right now. thelastframe.live is the best way to share that link. You can do it Facebook, Twitter. It's in the chat window for you. Help me out, right? So there is still time. Let's just catch up on a couple quick business things. Still time to get access from all the presentations, or to access all the presentations from the Visual Storytelling Conference. I've told you about that for like the last 3 weeks running. You get access, full access, high definition videos by purchasing a VIP pass or the VIP Plus pass, and you get with that over $1,000 worth of free software. So I've already told you about the conference several times. If you missed it, you missed a great conference. I'm going to put the link in the chat window for you here. There you go. It's in the chat. It's also in the description below the video. Basically, use the code Edelman20 so that you get a discount on the VIP program. And if you haven't downloaded your free copy of Good Light magazine with my cover and 10-page article, what are you waiting for? The article's titled Calm in the Middle of Chaos, and it breaks down how I do a lot of my chaotic material fashion portraits. And I'm also working on a new piece for their 100th edition, which will come out in a few months. So that link that I just put in the chat, again, also in the description below the video, it gets you a free copy of this month's edition of the magazine. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about, and we have to get into the weeds a little bit tonight, gang, right? So this week's discussion, websites, Web 3.0, why you should care, and why you need to pay attention to these changes. And by the way, did I drop the lead there? Changes. Websites, Web 3.0, the internet as we know it, it's changing. It's changing right now. And by the way, much of what we will talk about tonight applies to you even if you're not trying to make money as a photographer. If you just want to be able to display your photography online and share it with other folks, you really should pay attention to this information because we're going to cover a lot of the basics tonight. But again, as I started to say, we got to get into the weeds a little bit to do this. For some of you may know exactly what I'm talking about, and this may be right up your alley. And then also last week, I told you all about SlickPick. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about it this week, and I promised you that I would actually show you how easy it is to get your website started. So I'm going to do that with my abstract site right before we do the Q&A. So stay tuned for that. So I want to begin with Web 3.0, even though websites was top on my list. I think we should start with Web 3.0 because that's the thing that many people don't understand. Already today, I had quite a few messages like, what is Web 3.0? Is this cryptocurrency stuff that I don't know about or understand or care about? I mean, some folks haven't even heard of Web 3.0, and even more people are scared of it. So as the name would suggest, Web 3.0 is the third iteration or phase of the evolution of this virtual world that we call the internet. Tim Berners-Lee, he's the man that pioneered the early development of the internet in 1990. And in 1990, he wrote, or in the early 1990s, he wrote the 3 fundamental technologies that became the foundation of the web, including the very first web page editor and browser. So this became the era of Web 1.0. They were static web pages with blue hyperlinks, and of course, great websites in Web 1.0. They had the famous animated under construction GIF. Remember those? Yeah, okay. Pretty much just text information, not a whole lot on the visuals, and very little design. So Web 2.0, that refers to today's internet where you're watching me right now. Pretty much over the last 15 to 20 years. The basic text pages from Web 1.0 have been entirely replaced by Web 2.0's interactivity, social connectivity, and user-generated content. So some big web words there, but we're going to get into that stuff. Bottom line, look, Web 2.0 makes it possible for user-generated content, just like this, to be viewed by millions of people worldwide, virtually in an instant. And the incredible growth during Web 2.0 has also, of course, led to mobile internet access and social media networks. Even apps have expanded online interactivity and utility. And when I say apps, I don't just necessarily mean on your phone. I mean websites and apps like Airbnb, Expedia, Google, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Uber, WhatsApp, YouTube, just to name a few, because there are thousands of them. The phenomenal revenue growth of these dominant platforms has made quite a few of the Web 2.0 centric companies, in other words, companies that really came to fruition in Web 2.0, such as like Apple, Amazon, Google, Facebook, or now Meta, Netflix. These are like among the world's biggest, most wealthy revenue generating companies. So that brings us to Web 3.0. Web 3.0 represents the next significant phase of the evolution of the internet. So remember that sentence. For those of you, obviously, that aren't super techie and don't really want to get into the weeds, but would like to have a basic understanding, that's the first sentence that you want to remember tonight. Web 3.0 represents the next significant phase of the evolution of the internet. Interestingly, it will likely be every bit as disruptive and as big a shift as Web 2.0 was when it came along. So Web 3.0, it's being built on the core concepts of decentralization, we'll talk about that, openness, we'll talk about that, and greater user utility. So those 3 things. And here's the cool part. Those 3 things are actually a step backward in intent. Yes, backward. Tim Berners-Lee had already described these critical concepts back in the 1990s. On decentralization, which is a big part of Web 3.0, he is quoted as saying, "No permission is needed from a central authority to post anything on the web. There's no central controlling node. There's no single point of failure. In other words, no kill switch," right? And this also, of course, implies freedom from indiscriminate censorship and surveillance. And we like to think here in the US that we don't have any of these problems, but actually we do. And certainly we know even, current news that's happening in various parts of the world, they struggle with those issues much, much more than we do here in the US. Speaking about bottom-up design, he says, instead of code being written and controlled by a small group of experts, it will be developed in full view of everyone, encouraging maximum participation and experimentation. So what that means is basically open source. In other words, instead of having to rely on a lot of these bigger companies for the software utilities, we will be able to tap into it as it's a shared resource amongst the masses. And then in 2001, so not the early 90s, but still quite a long time ago, Berners-Lee also discussed the concept of what he referred to at the time as the semantic web. Think about it. Computers have no reliable way to process language semantics. They can't figure out the actual context in which a word or a phrase is used. Berners-Lee's vision for the semantic web was to bring structure to the meaningful content of web pages and enable software that could carry out sophisticated tasks for users automatically. In other words, AI. So as of today, as we sit here right now in the year 2022, there is still no standard definition of this Web 3.0. But the fundamental elements that you can find in most discussions about Web 3.0, first, decentralization. This is one of the biggest core tenets of Web 3.0. So in Web 2.0, computers still use what's referred to as HTTP, hypertext protocol, in the form of unique web addresses, URLs, like my website, www.joeedelman.com or www.facebook.com, to find information that's stored at a fixed location, generally on a single web server. Now, certainly bigger platforms like Facebook and actually even my website are indeed stored on multiple web servers around the world, but essentially they are all controlled from a single source, single server. Now with Web 3.0, because the information would be found, searched for based on its content, it could be stored in multiple locations simultaneously and decentralized. And what this does, it breaks down the massive databases that are currently held by the big internet giants like Facebook, Google, Amazon, and Apple. And it gives users, us, greater control over the information, how we find the information, and how we use and access the information. Also, trustless and permissionless. Those are two words that you'll hear in almost every conversation about Web 3.0. Basically, it means that we will likely rely more on open sourced software, which will allow people to interact directly without having to go through a trusted intermediary. So even imagine something like a WhatsApp or a Telegram or even Facebook Messenger without having to go through Facebook or Facebook WhatsApp or Telegram, but be able to go simply direct. As a result, Web 3.0 applications will run on blockchains. You've heard that word a lot in all the conversations about cryptocurrency and NFTs and all those things. And indeed, this is part of the same technology that is driving all of the cryptocurrency and the NFT craze and all that stuff. These are basically peer-to-peer networks or a combination of a decentralized network. Really, really techie stuff. You don't have to understand all the deep tech. You just have to understand the idea that this is really about making things less controlled, either by governments or by companies, more controlled by users. In other words, almost essentially creating an independent internet, which, don't get me wrong, there are also a lot of concerns with that. There are security concerns, and just like anything else that's new, there will be some hiccups along the way, but it's coming. Will it wind up looking like and working exactly the way Tim Berners-Lee imagined it and wrote about it? I honestly don't think it will be exactly like that, but there are pieces of it that are extremely exciting. And indeed, we're going to have some issues to work out, and it's going to be the next wave. And then the last piece of the three main topics that you hear about whenever you hear about Web 3.0, and certainly there are more. Again, we could spend hours getting into that minutia, but that's not why most of you are here. But it's important that we at least get a basic understanding of this, right? So artificial intelligence, AI, machine learning. In Web 3.0, computers will be able to understand information similarly to the way that you do through technologies based on the semantic web concepts and natural language processing. All of things which have made tremendous leaps forward in just the last few years. Web 3.0 will also use machine learning, which is a branch of artificial intelligence. That way, it's using data and algorithms to imitate how humans learn, and it will be able to gradually improve the accuracy of what it returns to us. So these kind of capabilities are going to enable computers to produce faster and more relevant results. And one other thing, actually, I should throw this in because it's important, that you frequently do hear about in conversations about Web 3.0, connectivity and ubiquity. With Web 3.0, the information and the content are more connected and more ubiquitous. So that's it for the tech stuff. We're going to leave it there. It's important, again, that you kind of have just a basic 30,000 foot view understanding. And I will tell you, stay tuned. I am working on a few articles, and I'm going to be putting together a workshop a couple months from now on kind of Web 3.0 as it impacts photographers, and also talk a little bit about the NFT craze and all that, because I have very mixed feelings about the NFT realm, which we're not going to get into tonight. So why is this part of this conversation about marketing for photographers? So really the big piece that we want to talk about out of those three things is the idea of decentralizing things. So those of you that have followed me for a while, you know that last year I went through the terrifying situation of being banned from Facebook, like straight up banned. Now, Facebook's policy, when you are banned, there is no appeal, there's no begging, there's no whining. That's not like being hacked and you got to get a new password. You're done. Even trying to set up a new Facebook account, if their very good algorithms and AI are able to determine that you are the person who was banned, they will not approve the account. I know from firsthand experience. And it was a great illustration of how we have all become rather compliant, as well as incredibly reliant upon this technology that we don't own. And again, this applies if you're operating a business. It applies if you are just sharing your pictures for fun. Social media is amazing. We are blessed to have it. We are blessed to have this technology. So let's be straight now. It's not going to do you any good to dump in and start griping and bitching about social media with me. I think social media is the greatest thing since Swiss cheese, period. Has it created problems? Are there issues with it? Are there concerns with it? Is it having a sometimes negative impact on elements of our society? Hell yes, it is. But you can go back through history, folks. Every new evolution and major societal change has had negatives as well as positives. And it takes time to work through the negative elements. And some of them are never resolved. Others are. And we evolve. So again, this isn't about griping about everything that's wrong with social media or technology. Sure, there's a lot of problems. But as far as I'm concerned, so this is my opinion, the net impact is extremely positive. And especially for us as photographers, it's amazing. But we are relying on property that we don't own. That's a dangerous thing. If Facebook were to go away tomorrow, how do you market your business? That was what I was faced with. I have 53,000 followers on my business page. I have 5,000 friends, almost 5,000 friends, and another 6,000 followers on my personal page, and over 10,000 members in my Facebook group. And I was removed. I had no access whatsoever. Facebook is my number one communications tool as a photographer and photo educator, and how I inform people about what I have to offer, what I'm doing, give them updates about what I have available for them to learn from. It was gone. Just like that. We all take that risk, and we take that risk every day. On one hand, it is a necessary evil. We need the power and the reach that Facebook, Instagram, all social media provides us. On the other hand, we don't own it. We can't control it. That's scary. That right there, that one simple element is why it is incredibly important to have your own website, period. Full disclosure, and I've talked about this for quite a few years, actually. I actually even consulted and helped some younger photographers, some kids that were right out of school, had very little money to get started with. I helped them get started building a business without a website in order to save costs. And at the time, my short-sightedness said, hey, we can do this. You can make this work. Not a problem. Now, the only thing that makes me sleep at night when it comes to that advice that I gave them at the time is the fact that I know every single one of them that I consulted with now have their own websites and they're doing very good and they've progressed well. But if someone were to come to me today and say, can I get a business started without a website? My advice would be, you can, but you'd be an idiot to do it that way. And here's why. Not just because of, this epiphany that I've had based on getting banned, but based on getting banned is a big part of it, right? In other words, your website, you own it, you control it, but let's take that a step further. Since you own it and you control it, you can't get banned from your own website. More importantly, you are able to brand it. You don't share it. So someone is not going to come to your website and find another photographer while they are on your website. Someone is not going to come to your website and be able to compare your work with others. Someone is not going to come to your website and see your images poorly compressed because social media is trying to save server space, unless, of course, you have built your website improperly or you're using a platform that does not do a good job of displaying images. We'll get to that stuff, right? Having your own website is a funnel. It is a funnel that leads people directly to you. That website should indeed inform people about your social media platforms, because for those people that want to be able to keep up with you, keep up with the things that you're doing, keep up with the information you are sharing, all of that, it's important to let them know how to do that. But it's also important to make sure that they find your website, know where your website is, and that they understand that your website is the best place to interact with you. Interact meaning, number one, seeing your images at the best possible quality. Number two, being able to get as much information about your services and how to go about working with you as possible. Number three, to learn a little bit more about you than what you had for lunch yesterday and posted on Instagram, or who you voted for in the next election, which we know is just stupid to do that as a business person, right? Your website is where they find the information that really is going to allow them to make a buying or booking decision, period. So your website is crucially important. And the best part of it is, websites don't cost a whole lot. Right? This is the thing where I look back on these young students that I advised, and this was easily 5-6 years ago. That's why I'm kind of even kicking myself. I was trying to soften it up a little bit and not take the hard line and say, oh, come on, suck it up. If you can't make enough to pay for your website, how are you going to do business, right? Because that was my thought. But it's like, well, you could maybe make this work. But the reality is this. If you're starting a business as a photographer, if you want to go into business as a photographer and you can't make enough to pay $12 or $14 a month for your website, even for that matter, $30 or $40 a month for your website, depending on the features that you're going to select, if you can't make that much in the course of a year, you're doing something massively wrong. Period. Right? So, that being said, Web 3.0, it's coming. You're going to hear lots more about it. Like I said, you will hear a lot of the Web 3.0 discussion for now. You're going to hear it framed in the conversations about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin and NFTs and all that. And I'm not as worried about that stuff. I told you I'll talk a little bit down the road about NFTs, and I'll give you my take on them. But as far as this conversation goes, the most important thing to understand about Web 3.0 is that it really is the push to put you back in control of your presence, your brand, your existence on the internet, period, right? That's entirely what it's all about. And honestly, what it does is it presents a whole lot of opportunity. I just want to touch on this really, really quick here. Cloud Strife, and I apologize. I thought I could, let me see if I can actually get this text a little bit bigger. Sorry, guys. There we go. Companies can get rid of your servers. Did this happen at Parker or Rumble? Don't remember. So in this case, is decentralization important? So Cloud Strife, yes, companies can get rid of your servers. And yes, it did happen to Parker or whatever the companies were. But here's the thing. It's not even remotely what we're talking about. And here's why, right? Without getting into the politics, please, right? The fact of the matter is those were websites and platforms that were operating loose and fast with facts. Facts that could have really, really horrible consequences if people act on the incorrect information that was there. Unfortunately, one of the challenges that we do have in the bigger picture of this socially connected world, this computer connected world, is being able to separate opinion from fact and reality. That is definitely one of the problems that has to be worked on and resolved. So I think it's fairly safe to say that the overwhelming majority of photographers, especially the ones that I'm talking to, are not going to be posting information that is going to have, very negative social impacts because of the falseness or the loosey-goosey approach to, the facts that are presented. But yes, is that certainly possible? It's absolutely possible. But the whole idea with the decentralization, which you got correct, and why you're saying, is this why decentralization is important, is the idea that just like with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, your website, if it's your personal website, it would actually be stored on multiple servers. And we already have that to a certain extent, but we're doing it through companies. So for instance, my website is set up on what's called a CDN, which is a content delivery network. So the photographs, especially if you are accessing my website from Europe, you will actually get the files from a web server in Europe as opposed to the US, okay? If you're accessing the website from the eastern portion of the US, you will get the files from the eastern portion of the US as opposed to the western portion of the US where there's another server. But that's going through a company. Really where they're looking to take this is the idea that essentially you would host your files, period. There would be copies of those files all around the world so that if one server went down or one server was removed from the chain, the information still exists elsewhere and it's picked up. It's not lost, okay? I don't think that, and again, I don't know, I don't think that this is going to eliminate the need for things like backups, and certainly there's going to be new security concerns that will come into play, all that kind of stuff. But yes, it is really trying to create a situation where you have more autonomy in terms of the decisions you make and honestly the rules that you follow as far as posting things online. For photographers, for our discussion, the rules really come down to psychology. In other words, when you're posting information online about yourself or about your business, it's really about the perception that people have of you, your work, etc. So fortunately, I don't think we have to worry too much about the stuff that had some of these companies removed from the internet. Okay. So again, this is an evolving thing. We still have quite a ways to go, honestly, before we can officially say that we have switched over to Web 3.0. A lot of you have heard recent months coming from Meta, Facebook, to talk about the metaverse that Mark Zuckerberg is all about. This is also a big element and a piece of what will be Web 3.0. That doesn't mean that to use the internet, you're going to have to wear, virtual reality goggles, all that kind of stuff. These are going to be elements of what's available. It doesn't mean that as photographers, you have to have an avatar and you have to create your own photo studios like in virtual reality where people come to look at your work. No. Will some photographers do that? Yes, they will. Will there be an audience that is attracted by that? I'm sure there will be. But does that mean what we are used to here in Web 2.0 is going to go away? I'm really very confident that it won't. We will see new opportunities. We will see some new trends, and we definitely are going to see some new technology come into play that gives us opportunity. So again, it's simply about going through life and this process of building a business or building a following and keeping your head up so that you're paying attention to what's going on. Okay? So that being said, we've dealt with Web 3.0. We've dealt with the idea that ultimately you want to own your space. And honestly, I cannot stress the importance of that enough. So let's talk about a website. Let's talk about what is the purpose of a photographer having a website in the first place. And let's kind of see how far we can get into this. We're about 30 minutes into the show here. So let's see how far we can get into this. We are probably going to leave the content aspect. In other words, what are the elements that should be included in your website? I think that's going to be next week because I also want to show you this setup for SlickPick. And I'm going to take you guys along on the ride, literally, as I build this new website through SlickPick and essentially start this new little side hustle business. I'm going to make you guys a part of it, let you see every step of the way how I build this out, along with the mistakes that I am sure I will make. So that being said, photographers, websites. Why do you need a website? So we've already hit reason number one, right? You need a home on the internet that is yours. It reflects you. It reflects your photography. It allows you to display your photography in the way that you feel it looks best. It also allows you to communicate the message about you and your work and your services to the best of your ability in the way that you want to, in the size that you want to, in the color that you want to, period. Now, I actually had somebody reach out to me earlier today on social media after I posted this, and the comeback was, and they're in a different part of the world. Their response was, in my part of the world, people are finding their photographers on social media, and that's where they're making their buying decisions, and websites don't matter. And I have to say, I really, sincerely, from the bottom of my heart, am confident that I could prove this person wrong. What they described to me is their perception. And if indeed they are running their business without a website, just on social media, we've already established you could pull that off, but it's high risk. And they're also creating a situation, which I guarantee you, any part of the world, they're creating a situation where they are bottom feeding, meaning they are only getting clients that are making snap judgments on really small images with limited information, and they are not getting solid, high-paying, engaged clients, the kind of clients that are going to help you build a business. Because remember, gang, and I've said this many times, you've probably heard it elsewhere too, as much as social media encourages us to live by the numbers, how many followers, how many likes, how big is your following, all this stuff, none of that pays your bills. None of that puts money in your pocket. You could have an incredibly successful business with 1,000 followers, less than 1,000 followers, if they are the right followers who are engaged and interested and willing to hire you at your rates. Tire kickers, not included. We're not interested in those. The people that want a headshot for $50, you're not interested in those. And let's, by the way, since I said that, people that want a headshot for $50 or people that want you to shoot a wedding for $500, can you all do me a big favor, especially those of you that are in business? And I mean this like sincerely. Hear me out on this because I'm going to ask a favor of you. And I apologize that I may be making an assumption about you, but a lot of photographers do this, right? Don't bitch, don't whine, don't complain, don't trash talk the people that are looking for cheap photography services. And even more important, please don't bitch about, whine about, complain about, trash talk. Don't out them on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. The photographers who are willing to do work at those rates. Now, please hear me out. Because I got to be honest with you, those of you that do that whining and complaining, you're lazy. Stop whining, stop complaining, and work to make your photography have the kind of impact that people are going to say, my God, that's worth a lot of money. Because here's the thing. We all know, you know, I know, everybody knows, those photographers who are willing to do a wedding for $250 or a headshot for $50. We all know they are not going to be able to pay their bills at that cost. And we all know that you don't want to do a wedding for $250 or a headshot for $50. So the fact that these people are willing to do it, they're not your competition. So there's no reason to whine about them, complain about them, put them down, trash talk them. There's no reason. Now there's those other people, the people that ask. The reason why I said, please don't trash talk them, please don't put them down, please don't whine about them. It's not right for you, me, or any photographer to take on the attitude that a young couple who's getting married, beginning a life together, but they don't come from wealth. They don't come from means. Maybe they're down on their luck. Maybe they're in an area that's heavily impacted by God knows what, and they don't have the financial resources. It's not up to us to say, well, you don't deserve good photography, or you can't have photographs of the most important day of your life because you can't spend $5,000. That's not right. So the thing you have to understand is that, you know, in the big picture, those photographers who are willing to do work for $50, $250, they actually provide an extremely important service. And they provide value to people who cannot afford better photography. So instead of whining, complaining, bitching, trash talking, all that kind of stuff, when you come across those photographers that are doing that, shooting for $250, shooting for $50, especially if you look at their work and you realize that they could charge more, instead of doing all that trash talk and complaining, why not reach out and offer to help them? Why not reach out and offer to educate them? Not talk down to them, not belittle them, help them. Because they're probably in a space that you were once in where they don't understand how to really establish the true value of the work and how to look somebody in the eye and ask for it. And every one of you that are making decent money with your photography, you know, you remember how hard that was the first time. Hell, I still remember. I still struggle with that. To this day, I struggle with, and believe me, I know all the math. I know all I still struggle with looking somebody in the eye and saying, this is what it's going to cost. And making sure that I'm using a number that is appropriate. So again, I apologize for getting off track, but it's something I really stumbled upon something like that yesterday on Facebook. My heart sinks every time I see it because it's such a narrow viewpoint of the world, period, to have that kind of attitude towards people that either can't afford it or are willing to work for that little bit of money. So anyway, back to the websites, right? What is the reason other than, you know, having control? Well, here's the way that I encourage you. You've probably heard me say this before. I say this all the time. Think of your website like a brochure or a pamphlet, right? That's really what it is. Do not look at your website as the final destination. Do not look at your website as a sales tool. Oh, by the way, why isn't it the final destination? Because the final destination is, at a minimum, a phone call, or wait, as the kids do it today, a phone call, right? Or better yet, an in-person conversation. That's the final destination. The goal of that website is to actually have a conversation, right? So it's to motivate people that last little extra bit to get them to fill out an email or to pick up the phone and call you and have a conversation so that you can start to establish a business relationship. That's the goal. The other goal of the website is to inform. Or I shouldn't say the other goal, but on the way to that goal, an important role for the website is to inform. It is to inform people about who you are. It is to inform people about what services you offer. And that doesn't have to be the nitty-gritty detail, but, at the basics, right? We want to let somebody know that you're, a portrait and headshot photographer, not a landscape photographer. So part of the way you're doing that informing is, of course, simply by the photographs that you show off. Another part of the website is to give people a sense of what will the experience be like working with you. This is why you're building a website. That website is a reflection on you. That website is a reflection on your photography. You can have the most amazing images in the world, and if your website looks like crap, your photography looks like crap. So again, this is something that you need to put some effort into. You need to put a little bit of time into. And most importantly, you need to put some thought into it, some real thought. As much as I push you every week to go pick up a camera and shoot, and I'll remind you again tonight before we finish that you have to pick up a camera and you have to shoot, you have got to set aside some time to really think through your website, what it's going to include, what it involves, everything. In fact, so we're just about 45 minutes here. So what I want to do, we're going to save the actual content pieces of the website. I'm going to go into those in great detail next week. We'll save those for next week. What I want to do now is I promised you I was going to walk you through this process of setting up this website that I'm going to do. And so we're going to see if we can do that. So for those of you that weren't here last week or did not watch last week's episode, right? A few weeks back, had the good fortune of meeting the gentleman who is behind the website or the company called SlickPick, okay? And if you'll bear with me 1 second here, I'm going to switch my screen over because I also want to get you guys a link here. It is in the description below the video, but I'm also going to paste it in the chat for you, those of you that are here live, okay? Just in case you want it later. So let's do the full disclosure thing. I am not being paid to talk about this company. So let's be clear about that straight out of the box. I am an affiliate of this company, meaning I do make a few dollars if somebody signs up and joins the company. And I told them straight up when they reached out to me with really a pretty big sales pitch in terms of, hey, we're different. We're not Squarespace. We're not Format. We're not any of those. We're a whole lot better. And they are. But when they reach out to me, number one, I was like, you're going to have to prove this to me. You're going to have to convince me. And they have. I've actually had an in-person meeting with them. I have had several Zoom meetings and phone calls with them. I have dug into their process. I have pushed back. I've asked a ton of questions. And the only reason I am not putting my joeedelman.com website on this platform, it is a templated platform. You can customize it. You can do a lot of really cool things. As I may have explained to you before, I have some specialized programming on my website, which my website is hosted or is built on WordPress, excuse me. I have some databases that are built for modeling agencies, databases that are built for makeup artists, promotional agencies. Unfortunately, you're not going to find a templated website company that will manage that or host that, especially since the programming is unique just to my website. So that being said, for a couple of years now, I have kind of for fun been shooting abstract images. I've shot them with my iPhones going all the way back to literally like iPhone 7. I shot them with my Olympus cameras. I've even done some with my Sony cameras already. It's just kind of a fun thing that I do. And my approach to abstract photography is the idea that it's photographing an everyday object or scene in a way that it is not immediately recognizable or that we are not used to seeing it. That's kind of my approach. Okay. So I decided, because I've had this in the back of my mind for quite a while. My wife frequently encourages me. She's a great cheerleader and says, you should sell a lot of these images for wall art for people to, decorate, etc. So I started thinking, all right, let's do some research, Joe. So first thing I did, just so you know the whole process, I reached out to a local interior designer that I have previously met who does home staging for the purpose of selling homes, and sent her a selection of images that I, would start this website with, some of the images, and said, hey, are these images that, if they were framed and if they were large, would you use these images? Would you stage homes with these? What's good about them or what's bad about them from your standpoint? Is this something that you would put money into? And the feedback that I got was very positive. It was also, of course, yes, we use tons of artwork and images, always looking for stuff like that. So right out of the box, that said to me, great. I potentially have my first customer lined up. And indeed, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be providing this person with some images that she will then offer for her clients to purchase if they want them. But in the meantime, she will use them, in various staging situations, etc. But I don't want to just deal with homes. These images could be used in corporate situations, at offices and lobbies, hotel lobbies, hotel rooms. There are tons of opportunities. I am still working out some of the logistics with printing and framing, but I'm getting close to getting that nailed down. I also am planning relatively soon. This part will not be there when I launch the website next week for you guys right here on The Last Frame. But I'm also planning on offering a series of images that will be much pricier, and they will be a one-off limited edition, meaning I will guarantee to the buyer that I will only print and sell that image once. So they will have an exclusive image in whatever setting they choose to place it in. The others will be images that could be reproduced, over and over and over again. And obviously the price will be considerably less for those. So there's going to be several levels. I am not going to use a service like SmugMug or, any of those where people just order it and it gets shipped to them. In order to get the kind of pricing that I want for these, which is going to be a premium price, this is going to be somewhat of a hands-on business. It's not going to take a lot of my time, but there needs to be interaction and essentially a relationship built. When I am able to separate it and have the high-end and the low-end ones, I may make the low-end prints available kind of on a self-fulfillment thing where you can order them right on the website and have them shipped. So that's basically, kind of where the whole thought process is. I have a business name. I did go ahead and get a logo made and had a less than great experience with the company that I selected. So I'm not going to tell you all about that tonight, but next week when we come back, I will recommend a company to you for logo design if you need it. And I also have the domain name and all of that's ready to go. So what I'm about to do, I've not done. I have no idea actually what I'm about to do. True story. So if you sign up for a bespoke account on SlickPick, when you log in for the first time after making your payment, this is the page that you will be dropped at. Okay. And by the way, when I say bespoke account, I'll come back and I'll explain that in a few minutes. I want to kind of dig into this and then I'll show you kind of the pricing breakdown and let you know what the bespoke account is, okay? And bear with me just 1 second here. I'm going to open up a page with some notes. There it is. Okay. So basically, we got two options here. We can set up galleries and photo sharing. We can build a portfolio website. I said two options. Sorry, three options. The last one, this is what we're going to do. Let SlickPick build your portfolio website. So get this. These are templated websites. I could go through now and I could pick templates, and they have some gorgeous templates. Or I can let them go ahead and set up the website for me. And then all I have to do is give them feedback and say, yeah, I'd like this, I'd like that. Can we change this? Can we make it this way? Can we do that? Legit. That's how it works. And guess how long this is going to take? Generally, for the first pass on the design, 1 business day. So I'm doing this, it's Wednesday evening here. So realistically, I'll have this thing ready to look at by Friday morning. And we'll be able to start to go through my first set of changes. And I will document for you guys whatever changes are made between now and when we come back next Wednesday, so that you can see how the design evolved. You know me, I'm picky when it comes to my marketing, right? So I'm going to have obviously very specific things that I want to see. So I'm logged in. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do design my portfolio. And so let's see. First thing here, we're going to go through this quickly so I don't have to read everything right out of the box. So they're going to show me how to upload the photos. I've already seen, whoops, let's go ahead and do that. I've already seen a demo of how to upload them. So I think that I can do that. And it says that I have less than 20. I haven't put any photos up. So I'm going to go ahead and upload a folder. And let me just grab this. Whoops. Okay. So it's on my desktop. I created a folder right there. We're going to go ahead and upload all of that. So there's 107 files in there. There are a few files that I want to use on the home page, and I've named them accordingly so they can figure that out. And then all the rest are the various pieces of artwork. And it's going through the process now of uploading them. So we're going to do that. And let's see. So already it's telling me if I want, I can go ahead and edit titles, and I can start putting in descriptions and other information now while it's doing this. I'm not going to do that for now, for the sake of time. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to let everything upload. It's going fairly quick here, so I'm going to make sure we get up to 100% before I click that continue button. All right. And yeah, I don't know that I'll be able to go to the home page here or not. Let's see if I can. Whoops, not slickpick.com. Since I am logged in, it may take me right to the dash. Okay, good. It's not going to take me to the dashboard. Yeah, it is. Sorry. So just to give you a sense while it's uploading, some of the templates that they have, I mean, absolutely gorgeous templates, very consistent with all of the, current design trends and design elements that you are seeing on photography websites. They also have a link if you go to the homepage where you can click to see a showcase of photographers' websites that are already set up on their platform. Hopefully mine will be there soon. But I can tell you right now, SlickPick is the host that is used by Serge Ramelli, Lindsay Adler, Scott Kelby, right? So people in the industry that are much bigger than me. They have a full breakdown here. Galleries with unlimited albums, obviously the portfolio website, the ability to control all of your sharing. You can also have private galleries for proofs. You don't have to do any coding at all, okay? So let me just see here if everything is uploaded, and we're almost there, okay? So once it's done, it's going to redirect me to my organizer page. 7, 6, 5, 4. We got a countdown. Okay. Seriously, guys, think about this. I just uploaded 106, by the way, full resolution files. Okay. So, all right. It's going to wrap that up. It's going to redirect me. There it is. And so now I have got a gallery or an album set up with all of that information. Okay. Super, super simple. So The next step, whoop, let me come back to my dashboard here. This is a lot of my settings. So I did find, or I do have one question and I'm not finding the answer to. And of course, now I'm not going to find it since I'm talking to you guys. The one thing I need to send them yet is I need to send them my text information, which I've written out. I wrote out a full brief of what is the website about for the homepage. I also, of course, have my bio, which is the same bio that I have on my other website. But let me just see here. Where do, oh, there it is. So design my site, and so it's the order page, order form. Here's where we're getting to. Aha. All right. My bad. I lost it. Okay. So I am going to have them do a white background. I can do other colors, links to my social media accounts. I don't have to worry about these because I've already put them in the document that I'm going to cut and paste. If you have an old portfolio site, I'm not going to do that. Include an about page, include a contact page, anything else you want to add. So what I'm going to do here very simply is I'm going to grab the text for my about page. Okay. And we're going to do a cut and paste. Boom, right there. And that's that. And then I am going to do my primary text. Whoops, let's grab that. And okay. And for the contact page, yes, name, country, state, city, phone, whoops, phone, email, and message. Those are the things that I want in the form. When you do contact pages, and we'll talk about this next week, you don't have to like ask people to give you their entire life, okay? And we're going to send it. That's it. It's on its way. Yeah, I'm gonna hit send because, oops, okay. All right, so I am looking for a design that is image heavy. Oops, image heavy, looks upscale, and features the images for the purpose of home and business decor. Okay, so you see how little information I have given them, right? That's it. And this is an ongoing thread now of communications that will take place between the designer and myself. If they have questions, they'll send me messages back. So what I'm going to do here really quick, I'm going to log out. I just want to show you the pricing stuff. So, and I want to show you like literally why when I first heard about this company and this service, I honestly didn't believe it. I really didn't. They know that I'll say that. They totally do. So here's the pricing. Honestly, trust me, forget the basic, the classic, the portfolio. You could consider the pro at $15 a month. Again, if you can't start a business selling photography, being booked as a photographer and pay $16 a month, you really got a problem. But here's the big one, the bespoke service, $49.95. So that's $50 a month. You pay it annually. I'm going to give you a discount code that will give you a substantial discount off of that, okay? In fact, here, let me grab the discount code and we will paste that into, or the link, I should say, sorry. We'll paste that into the chat window for you, okay? There we go. Now, so what's going to happen with the bespoke plan? And by the way, the discounted rate is good forever. So it's not just for the first year and then it goes back up to the full price. That price that you get is good forever. You get unlimited changes to get the site right. You get unlimited modifications. Essentially, you are also getting a completely unique design. They're not just going to, just so we're clear, they're not just going to grab one of those templates and slap your pictures in there. right? Those templates, you can access the templates in these other plans, use those templates, and you're good to go, right? Or with a bespoke plan, they're essentially going to create a unique site for you and work with you directly. They're going to help you set up your SEO, all of it. I talked a lot about that last week, and we're running out of time. But here's the thing that is so cool. And this is the only website hosting company for photographers that does this. And I'm not going to lie, I had to get them to explain it to me a couple of times. In fact, I even called them back today and said, hey, I want to go through this one more time to make sure that I understand it. So when you upload images to a company like Squarespace or Format or Wix, or even if you make, my website uploads to a WordPress website, automatically they make multiple copies of the files so that there's, copies that are sized for smartphones, copies that are sized for iPads, copies that are sized for different design elements of the website, copies that are designed for full screen, bigger screens, all that kind of stuff. All that has to be stored on their web servers. So part of what they're charging you for is the fact that if you have a website that is image heavy, they've got to store a ton of photographs. Not the case with SlickPick. You upload your full resolution files, by the way, all the way up to 8K in size if you're on the bespoke plan. You upload your full resolution size files, that's all they're storing. They don't create the multiple sizes. Now, some of you are ready, don't jump because you're thinking, oh, that'd be horrible if they just send full resolution to cell phones. No, they are basically using dynamic image sizing on demand. So what happens is if you're on your phone and you click to visit one of those websites, and this happens on every device that you use, by the way, the web browser tells the website what size the setting of the browser is. That's automatic, right? It's already happening. What SlickPick is doing is they're taking that piece of information that comes in with the request, and they are on the fly creating images that are the appropriate size for that device. As a result, there are a couple of great things that happen. And this is amazing tech. Less bandwidth. So obviously we already established less storage space. They don't have to store as many files. Less bandwidth because they're only going to send files that are the right size for your device, instead of sending bigger sizes that your device has to squeeze down and resize, hence taking longer. And because they have got their sites stored around the world using CDNs, they're able to do it much faster. Much faster. So by all means, compare their websites to Squarespace websites, especially like on a phone, and look at how fast they load, how fast the information comes in. It is amazing. So, no, I'm not sponsored. Yes, I make a couple of bucks if you sign up. I'm building a website on this platform myself to show you. I believe in it. I'm going to use it. Okay? Check it out. The challenge that you have with companies like Squarespace and all of those, they're big. Tons and tons and tons of people are using them, and the websites all look the same. Squarespace in particular, it's actually not that easy to reconfigure. You really do have to know CSS and some HTML to be able to do that kind of stuff. So, I encourage you, take a look at what these folks are doing. I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know how long they're going to be able to build this business and do this much design work for you at those prices. Because if you contact a digital agency or a marketing agency to build a website for you, you're going to be into the thousands of dollars. Thousands. This is literally a fraction of that. So, give it a look. Think about it. If you are at a point where you need to make a change, you need to upgrade your website, I would encourage you, it's time to start looking at that. So CloudStrife, you can host video on your websites there. Yes, they're not going to edit the video for you, but yes, you can absolutely host videos as well. Keep in mind that hosting videos on a website in general is not always the best plan because it depends on what the video is. Let me just leave it there. We'll talk more about videos when we get into website content next week. But the short answer is yes, you can. Okay. Darren, I'm not sure who you're referring to. They mostly use WordPress. If you're talking about SlickPick, no, sir, they don't. These are not WordPress websites at all. None of it is WordPress. So not sure what you're referring to there, but folks, I assure you, go check the source code. These are not WordPress websites. Okay. So again, gang, something for you to look at, something for you to consider. We're going to get into basically the details next week. Website content, right? What are the pieces that need to be on your website? All that good stuff. So thank you for watching. I hope that you found some value in what I shared tonight. I know it wasn't normal bill of fare and maybe not as fun, but it's important information for you to understand. And please, you know the drill, right? You are not getting any younger and you have less time left than you did yesterday. So go pick up the camera and shoot something, because your best shot, it's your next shot. Adios, gang.